I feel like this happens with just so many superhero stories. After being a masked superhero for too long, they start to lose that struggle with a healthy work-life balance, and they're more often than not choosing the mask over their friends, family, or significant other. Of course, they try to lie to everyone to hide their identity with some flimsy excuse, and usually the other person doesn't buy it. Until one fateful day, all of the puzzle pieces start falling into place, and they finally learn the truth. This person that they're with is secretly a superhero. Then they confront the titular hero about the fact that they kept this secret from them for all this time, and are almost always furious about it. Not ecstatic that the person who's been keeping everyone in the city safe has been their lover or best friend this entire time. Not relieved that their partner doesn't actually need to use the bathroom every 20 minutes and stays there for hours, or whatever the lie was.
How did you just do that? I'm a really good lawyer.
Well, good enough for me.
But no, this character is deeply upset with the protagonist, and now the hero must deal with this personal issue on top of everything else that their arch-nemesis is up to. This happened with Amber in Invincible, Foggy in Daredevil, Iris in the Flash TV show, Gwen's dad in Across the Spider-Verse, and this happens just all the time with Spider-Man. Also, a huge part of She-Hulk's dating life is always ruined because of the reveal that she's a hero, or the reveal that she's also a regular person sometimes. Every single time it does happen, fans always come to the same conclusion. It's kind of a tiring and overdone cliche, and that's what I want to explore. The good, the bad, and why it's never going away. So let's get into it. According to TV tropes, this specific trope is called "the masquerade will kill your dating life." Although it isn't exclusive to just lovers, but friends and family as well. And the page also includes examples of just being a superhero that prevents them from even attempting romance. Which isn't exactly what most people think of when it comes to this trope, because that's slightly different, but hey, it's the best place to start. The trope can take form in one of three ways. Either the reveal of that partner being a superhero causes too much strain on the relationship and they break up. For the most part, I know most people usually associate this trope with the girlfriend who just doesn't understand, but I mean, come on. Quite literally, the entire plot of the 2000s rom-com My Super Ex-Girlfriend kicks off because Luke Wilson's character can't handle her being superpowered. Well, actually, it's a mix of that and her being totally unhinged, but still. The next type is that they're introduced to the lifestyle, and it's gonna be an uneasy adjustment period, but they will come back. Ultimately, if the pair are true lovers, they're always gonna be destined for one another, and the cooling off period is cut short because the lover was unexpectedly kidnapped. Or, as it turns out, they're also keeping a secret identity because they're a supervillain. Maybe the power of their love will bring them back to the side of good. And now that I think about it, it's like superheroes have an almost 100% track record with redeeming supervillain love interests once they start dating. It's actually an outlier that they learn the truth and are completely cool with it. Huey in the show version of The Boys finds out Annie is Starlight very early on, and just before they start dating, which is significantly better than how he reacts in the comics. Most recently, in episode 5 of My Adventures with Superman, Lois tries to very subtly confront Clark about her suspicions of him being Superman all episode, until she finally makes him prove it by jumping off the Daily Planet building. While objectively horrible, also tracks with her character and is a nice little nod to the Golden Age Lois, Silver Age Lois, and even a deleted scene from the Donner cut of Superman 2. Of course, Clark reveals he's Superman by saving her, and she's upset that he kept it from her all this time. Honestly, this is fine. It would be more of a disservice to her character if they went any further without her connecting the dots. We all know that she's eventually going to become a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, and even a single episode longer without her figuring it out would just make her look ridiculous. And maybe Lois was right in this episode. A little overdramatic jumping off a building to prove her point, but in this instance, I think the trope was actually done right. Because yeah, it wasn't about him secretly being a superhero, it was because Clark was lying to her. She has been lied to her entire life, and she just wants it to end. He saw how much the interview meant to Lois, but didn't share it with her, someone that was actually getting very close to him. He does have his own reasons for not sharing, and not every detail about a person needs to be shared with the other just before they start a relationship. Which brings us to another good point. How long in a relationship should a person wait before telling the significant other that they're actually a superhero? Before the relationship starts? No need to tell them. Sure, it'd be nice for the other person to know what exactly they're getting themselves into, but that level of trust hasn't been established yet. For all intents and purposes, they just met each other, and it's not really a secret identity if you're blabbing it to just anyone. Not every hero can be so cavalier about their secret identity like Booster Gold, who uses his identity as a pickup line, which inevitably leads to pretty much every single one of Booster Gold's many jilted lovers to tell his identity to a supervillain. The next level up would be friendships. And this again falls into the nice to tell but still under no obligation to category. Peter Parker could tell his friends Harry Osborn and Ned Leeds about his identity, but they both do eventually become Green Goblin and Hobgoblin. Then there's Foggy Nelson and Daredevil. It's not that he's upset that Matt's a superhero. He's upset that Matt's a masked vigilante, which is still highly illegal even in the MCU. Even though that, yeah, it is the morally just thing to do, but still. They've been best friends since college, law school, and all the way up until the point that they're practicing attorneys. And maybe a heads up could have been nice before they started a law firm together. Usually, though, that friend becomes a lifelong ally. Bruno from Miss Marvel was a perfect example. He takes the truth well in both the comics and the show, then later becomes her guy in the chair for help for any kind of problem. And as with Bruno, sometimes a good number of friendships can eventually spark into a romance. When they start dating is the real gray area. At this point, they probably should mention it, but it's still understandable if they're not exactly there yet. And just to reiterate, boundaries are perfectly healthy in a relationship. Yet, take Gwen Stacy for example. Peter and Gwen were friends in college and eventually started dating. Her father, Captain George Stacy, was friends with Spider-Man, and unrelated to the identity, he was also very supportive of them. In the comics, just before Captain Stacy dies, he learns the truth about Peter and says that he's happy that she has someone to keep her safe, which is significantly better than how he reacts in Amazing Spider-Man.
Leave Gwen out of it.
No. No, I don't think I will.
In both iterations, Gwen holds Spider-Man responsible for his death, and her hatred of Spider-Man really puts a damper on their relationship. Because this is comics we're talking about, danger isn't far from anyone who's close to a superhero. And either the villain learns the person is close to the hero, or just they're very unlucky. Gwen Stacy is eventually killed by the Green Goblin, and she went to her death never knowing why this was happening. Being a superhero is dangerous, and not every hero is as invulnerable as Superman. So they want to keep the secret from their partner, not to worry them at all times. Which is valid, don't get me wrong. But I also understand that it's complicated, but at this point, maybe you should consider your partner's feelings. The secret is one thing, but how the hero reacts after that is even more crucial. Which brings us to Amber in the TV show Invincible. This one definitely put this trope on the radar for a lot of people. Mark and Amber have been dating for a few months, and at the time of the reveal in both the comic book and the show, he'd fly away and lie about where he's been all this time, and in both cases, Amber was always the only one completely out of the loop. Then, the big fight on the college campus happens, and both times, Amber thinks that Mark just left her there to die, when in actuality, he was there fighting the reanimated cyborgs. In the comics, she guesses he's invincible and calls him out on it. The two kind of make up, but their relationship now has an expiration date. He could take her all around the world and do all the cool hero stuff, but it wasn't the same as actually having someone there with her. And the two eventually found someone that they grew closer to and break up. In the show, Amber figures it out weeks earlier, and this is just more or less the final straw that, yeah, she was less important in his life. I mean, she was playing second fiddle to the safety of the Earth, and that is very much a factor. This led to a bunch of the worst takes on the internet about how a 17-year-old girl who broke up with her boyfriend because he lied and made her feel unimportant is somehow worse than Omni-Man, who is an actual colonizing mass murderer. And you guys, this is fine. They get back together in literally the next episode, and as we know from the comics, neither is perfect for the other person, and it's not that big of a deal. While there is room for nuance and complication when the hero is just dating somebody, when they reach the next step of engagement or marriage, if you're ready to spend the rest of your life with this person, yeah, that's kind of a bridge too far, and it's kind of a selfish move not to mention it by this point. Spider-Man is kind of guilty of this. In the films, Mary Jane usually finds out by the second film, but in the comics, he had already first proposed to Mary Jane in Amazing Spider-Man issue 182, which she understandably rejects, and the two break up, and he gets the symbiote suit and dates Black Cat, and it isn't until issue 257 when she learns the truth. Then, you know, he can propose again, they get married, and then the devil retcons that moment out of existence. But still, he wanted to marry her the first time without her even knowing. Wolverine is also terrible about this. He didn't tell either of his first two wives about his secret identity because he just wanted to live a quiet, peaceful life. And both times, they get killed by assassins. At least his third wife knew, but she was also Viper, aka Madame Hydra. It was a marriage against his will, and I guess the only time a hero didn't actually redeem their evil love interest, but yeah. He was married to the most forgotten character from the most forgotten X-Men film. She's still a very useful card in Marvel Snap though. Then, in the last category is family members. This one is more of a case-by-case basis, and it really depends on how close you are to that person. Cousins, maybe not. Siblings, maybe yes. Kids, definitely should. But please, for the love of everything, just tell Aunt May. She cared for Peter ever since his parents died, and it's never explicitly said that she knows, but come on. After someone she thinks is the devil blows up her house, and she gets kidnapped by Dr. Octopus, the sweetest person in the entirety of comic books at least deserves to know. And every single time where she does learn the truth, she becomes his rock, and will always support him no matter what. Well, almost. In the Ultimate comics, she's furious, sure, but she eventually comes around to the idea. At the end of the day, this trope exists because it's a natural way to spark drama in a story. As with My Adventures with Superman, this was just episode 5, and there's still plenty more to go through. The problem is solved by the next episode, and Jimmy has the best response to this entire trope.
I didn't say anything because it seemed like a sensitive subject. So I thought that if I waited, you would tell me when you were ready.
From a narrative standpoint, the masquerade will kill your dating life trope is a very believable way to show that a hero's double identity is causing friction between themselves and everyone else around them. I personally think this trope could get a lot less flack from the audience if the story kind of showed that, yeah, the heroes aren't perfect and work to better themselves to be with the other person if that's what the story calls for. Or not, that's fine too. As long as it's a story the audience can genuinely get invested in. But what do you guys think? What's that one superhero reveal that stuck with you guys the most? I'd love to know down in the comments below. And of course, if you enjoyed today's video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more weekly content on comic books and nerd stuff. I've been Eric, and you've been awesome.